Welcome to the newest episode of Beatin' and Bangin'. I'm your host, Kyle Dalton. After a vacation to the Northeast and spending some much-needed time with family and friends and covering last week's race in New Hampshire, I'm back home in the cozy confines and ready to break down this week's race from Nashville. Also, a heads up, because I didn't put out the video last week as I had hoped of the drivers grading their seasons through the first half, I'll include that at the end of this video. I have to say there were some really interesting insights into how the drivers view their respective seasons. However, before we get to those grades, let's go back to this weekend's media availabilities at Nashville, and there was one in particular that got my attention. It came from Bubba Wallace when asked about the report last week that he and Aric Almirola got into a physical altercation before the Charlotte race during a weekly competition meeting that includes both the drivers of JGR and 23XI Racing. Take a listen.
They don't want me to get into details. I'm going to keep some people's images good. I think I said enough at Charlotte last year. So, all in all, life is good for me.
If you don't remember, Wallace was referring to last year's race when he and Almirola had another incident. Obviously, those two don't like each other. Moving on to Sunday and the Cup Series race, and a week after being in New Hampshire and worrying about the weather for the weekend, the forecast had weather playing another key role in the race festivities in Nashville, and it did. However, before that happened, it was deja vu all over again, as Christopher Bell, who won the first stage last week in New Hampshire, did it again in Nashville, proving that he was a contender for yet another win. The weather took center stage in that second stage for an hour and 20-minute weather delay. Unlike last week, it was short of a halfway point, so everyone watching knew racing would continue once the track was dried. When it did, much like last week, it was a tale of two races. Bell swept the stages, but everyone was talking about what happened at the end of the second stage when Kyle Larson ran Denny Hamlin up high, similarly to what the Joe Gibbs Racing driver did last week at New Hampshire and has done on multiple other occasions in the past. Hamlin wasn't happy about it, and his crew chief, Chris Gabehart, attempted to calm him down.
Yeah, we're good enough to win the race. Don't worry about that. We're good. Hey, we're good. Stop. We're good enough to win this race. That's what we're going to... Stop!
Here's what Hamlin had to say about what happened between him and Larson after the race.
We were just playing around, playing grab-ass with each other. That's about it. He was running me up, and I was running into him, and so that was about it.
In that third and final stage, Bell was involved in an accident, which eliminated his chances of winning. It appeared his JGR teammate Hamlin had moved past his frustration with Larson and was poised to win his fourth race of the year after taking over the lead from Ross Chastain with 7 laps to go. But then Austin Cindric brought out a caution and chaos ensued. There were a record 5 overtimes due to cautions, and the most controversial involved Kyle Busch, who started 4th on that first overtime restart but was caught up in an incident where Larson got into Ross Chastain and sent the number 1 car for a spin into the outside wall. Busch never made contact with the Trackhouse car but did hit the wall and drop toward the back of the field. However, on the next restart, NASCAR surprisingly gave Busch all of his spots back. Jeff Burton and Steve Letarte didn't sugarcoat what they thought about it.
Kyle Busch got his spot back. NASCAR moved him all the way from the back, all the way up here to the second row.
That's ridiculous.
Just crazy that they lined him up in 4th. It's not right. I can't see any way that Kyle Busch should be 4th in this situation. He was in the accident, not of his doing, or avoiding the accident, but you can't stop on the racetrack.
Speaking of NBC, this is my first chance to talk about the network's broadcast since I've been on the road, but I wanted to give them some kudos for their coverage of just the little things, like embedding with the different teams on pit road, or showing battles throughout the field, as well as using multiple cameras to show action around the track. Keep it up. Finally, Joey Logano broke through and won for the first time this year, locking himself in the playoffs and joining his 2 other Penske teammates in the postseason. Outside of his finish, this was unquestionably the wildest top 10 of 2024, with Zane Smith, who is outside of the top 30 in points, finishing second. Ryan Preece recorded a 4th place result, and Daniel Hemrick and Noah Gragson finished 9th and 10th, respectively. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to move on to the drivers' grades for the first half of 2024. I asked the simple question to all of the drivers. We're 18 races in after New Hampshire. How do you grade your team's performance through the first half of the season? Here's what they had to say.
Grade, I would say A-, B+. I feel like we've been really, really good. We've led the most laps. We've won the most stages by far. We're tied with a couple others for most wins. So we've been doing a good job. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't excelled the way that we need to. We haven't been able to get some finishes that we feel like we're in a position to score a lot better. So just got to keep fighting the best fight.
Oh gosh, I'm really bad at this. I tend to grade myself down, and I'd give myself a C- maybe. But team overall, B, maybe. It's been a little better lately. I might have been in the C's 2 weeks ago, but we've gotten the 99 and the one car both similar in speed, and that's the most important thing, and then we can go forward from there. But we had to at least get us where Daniel and I could see each other on track, and because that wasn't the case for a while. So yeah, I'd give overall give us a B.
We haven't done much of anything the last month and a half. I know it's not from a lack of effort, so I don't want my team to see this and think that we're just shit. We're not. It's just things haven't been clicking. We've been trying different things, and it's just not been a good stretch for us. And I mean, we all know that, which creates us or makes us hungry to get to the racetrack again, to fresh set of downs, reset and get after it. So yeah, I keep saying every week, I get back on the horse and get after it. So it just seems like we get on the wrong one back-to-back weeks. That makes it tough, but still a lot of races left.
Yeah, I'd say for us, obviously not where we want to be. We just talked about not being locked in the playoffs. At this point, you kind of expect to be locked in the playoffs for the 22 team, right? But to put a grade on it, I don't know. It's kind of hard to do sometimes because it depends on the weekends, and honestly, it depends on the type of track. You look at the short tracks here recently, it's hard to not say it. We're pretty comfortable with it. Feel good about our chances of winning on short tracks. The mile and a halves don't quite feel that way yet. A lot of work to do there. So probably depends on the track that we would grade differently.
It's been a really good year. We've been really close at a lot of times. We've made some really good steps in the right direction, and we haven't been able to close the deal yet. Ultimately that part does hurt a little bit. We had a big goal for ourselves at the beginning of this year to make sure our first quarter of the season was a lot stronger than it was last year, and we did that. Got to Phoenix and was able to be runner-up there, and have been competitive at a lot of different tracks that we weren't last year. So we're in a good place. We just need a couple things to go our way. We got to step up some things and be ready to really just seal the deal and get those wins so that we can put ourselves in a better spot as we head towards the playoffs.
All right, guys, that's a wrap on this episode. I want to get your thoughts. First, let's start with the race in Nashville. What did you think of the overall race? And of course, I want to know what you thought about that history-making finish with 5 overtimes. Did you enjoy it? And what did you think of the Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin contact in Stage 2? Can we expect more from these two in the future? And finally, I want to know what you think of the drivers' grades. Any of them that you don't agree with? Remember, if you want to read my written work, go check it out at heavy.com. Also, go to beatenandbanging.com if you want to sign up for my weekly newsletter, and you'll receive an email each Friday recapping the top stories from the week, including reviews of the various NASCAR-related podcasts. Also, make sure to check out my Beating and Banging podcast on the Blue Wire Network. Thanks again, as always, for supporting the channel, and have a great rest of your day.